Well, howdy, folks, and welcome in to the SMITE Challenger Circuit. It is week 2, day number 3 here, kicking off a Sunday full of SMITE in Europe for the SMITE Challenger Circuit. Dimes here, got you for play-by-play. My good pal Spooky Mars joining me on the other side on the analyst desk, making me look good. And Spooky, normally we'd go back and forth here and kind of wax poetic about the SMITE Challenger Circuit, but I think this matchup is just worth jumping right into. The Hex Mambo, the Niflheim Wargs. I mean, what more could be said, but this is a SPL quality matchup.
Well, it's certainly a very good one. I think they had their opportunity to get into the SPL
Okay, fair
there,
enough.
Dime. So maybe don't rub salt into the wound too much there. But I do agree with you. This is going to be a great set to start off the day, rounding out the weekend of Smite here, and great way to get things moving before the SPL. Lots of talent on these rosters, but it's like you said, Dimes. What better way to look at it than just like hop into things, right? Because wow, we got Deathwalker to look at, we got Johnny, Rapio's coming in. We've got a lot of talent on these teams. Excited to see what they're going to do.
Absolutely. And remember, it's week 2, it's day number 3. This is a 5-week road to Masters here for the SMITE Challenger Circuit. It is certainly a sprint, not a marathon, as we get ready for picks and bans here in game number 1, Spooky. And anytime there's two teams full of talent that's been around a while, established names in the league, the first thing that always comes to my mind is target picks, target bans, right? Are we going to see meta style picks and bans, or are we going to see shots at specific players? How do you think this one's going to shake out, as Vamana is going to be the first one knocked off the table here?
I think once you reach this point in play, you're really looking at those meta bans, because anyone that you're going up against is going to have those meta picks in their pockets, right?
Sure,
they will have their own pocket picks. They'll have their comforts that they like playing, but generally they'll go towards those once these meta picks get taken off the board. If you leave them up, that's just the first thing that these players are going to go for. So you want to actually put them on those comfort picks, because while they may be very good at them, they're comfort picks for a reason. They're still generally less good than the top of the meta.
Fair enough, Spooky. As across the board, your crystal ball is correct. It's just going to be meta all the way here. Vamana, Thor, Ao Kuang. We saw Ao Kuang taken off the board yesterday, or in yesterday's Europe SCC matches as well. A couple of healers in Yamoja and Aphrodite, and then the ever-powerful Martikaras, or Marty, as the Smite community has so belovedly started calling him. But you know what? That leaves open that combination of Ishtar and Kernunos. It leaves open the Habwa. It leaves open the incredibly displacing Hercules, and it's going to be the Habwa here, first pick overall for the Niflheim Wargs.
Habwa pick actually surprised me a little bit. Now, it is a good pick. I do believe Rapio has played this in the jungle before, so it's kind of a comfort pick for him as well. So like you said, it leaves a lot of these big picks up. Ishtar, Kernunos, not going to be looked at. But Guan Yu, covered here, has seen a resurgence in popularity ever since the healing changes came through. Guan Yu, while it seems he's lost power on the heal, he just feels better just because it's up so often. No one else is really out healing him because of how frequently his heal is off cooldown. The sustain is amazing. You pair it with this Khepri. Mambo's already looking pretty tough to kill. I like this response, though, from the Wargs.
Niflheim Wargs locking in hell for sure. Hercules being hovered on, locked in as well. So far, an all-H draft here for the Niflheim Wargs, Spooky. Definitely something to touch on. As, let's see, are there any hunters that start with H? Hachiman. We could go with the Hachiman in there, and then let's see, they need a support as well. So
did you say Hades support?
There's potential here, Spooky, is all I'm saying. But
no, back it up. Did you say Hades support?
No, I didn't. You did.
No, I definitely didn't say that first.
Okay, anyways, Finra locked in for the Hex Mambo here. Let's move away, please. And surprisingly, Spooky, hello. Surprisingly here, Spooky, Ishtar and Kernunos, the two most premier ADCs in today's game, totally ignored in both picks and bans in the first half of the draft here.
Maybe a little bit of a gentleman's agreement between the teams. Decided not to go for the boring hunters. We do see the Upwash banned away, interestingly. But I do like this Fenrir pickup, specifically because both Ishtar and Kernunos are still open. Fenrir does a pretty good job of tracking both of them with the Brutalize. They have to either, if you're Ishtar, use the ultimate, Blade's Retribution, or the Jolt offensively to create distance. Mm-hmm. Or if you're Kurnos, you have to burn your entire ult trying to stop Fenrir. That or you try to Bramble Blast him while he's brutalizing, which generally just goes under him because of how quick the leaps are. Mm-hmm. I'm going to see this Ishtar get picked up here by Mambo. Kurnos still unbanned, so likely see that go the way of the Wargs as well.
I mean, it's going to be tough to lock in any other hunter with the Kronos still on the table. Incredible teamfight potential, clear. Yeah, it would be straight up a misplay to not lock in this CERN. And on the other side, the Hex Mambo, I mean, looking for a powerful mid laner to round out their draft. But as Kaizo and I were talking about yesterday on the desk, the mid lane pool is so deep right now. I mean, there are so many mages that are capable of being played in the middle lane. You can take another hunter into the middle lane, especially with this combination of the Khepri and the Guan Yu and the Fenrir. Plenty of peel online for a double hunter composition. So the Mambo really have their way with how they want to end their draft.
Yeah, I don't like the double hunter as much here with the current Mambo draft. I like this Baba Yaga selection a lot more.
Sure.
Putting all of your damage in physical makes it generally pretty easy for you to be counter-built against. And when you're looking at something like Hell, Hercules, you're never killing them with the sustain that they have. So mixing up your damage here with this Baba Yaga has a little bit more safety, great burst, right around the team fights in those objective pits. I like this pick a lot more. It gives you a little bit of pressure against this Morgan Le Fay. Gets you a lot of utility as well. This is a great way to round out the draft. Mambo has a formidable comp to go against right now.
Wargs got their 5 locked in. The Mambo are happy with their draft. Spooky, let's get into game number 1 here. Niflheim Wargs and the Hex Mambo. The SMITE Challenger Circuit in Europe. Kicking off a day of SMITE here on this beautiful Sunday morning, at least Sunday here in North America. Of course, over in Europe where the players are, might be a little bit later on in the day. And Spooky, I love to touch on these junglers first because, I mean, Rapio on this Habwa and Johnny on this Fenrir, both looking to get active pretty early on here. Rapio maybe a little bit later, get some items online, that ultimate crushing wave. But specifically, I want to look at Johnny here with a couple of characters that are a little less mobile than you'd like in Gunter and Preds. Is there a particular squishy on the Wargs that Johnny's going to be walking down?
So early game, Johnny should just be living on Preds. Should be looking to kill this Hell pretty much on cooldown. The advantages of Hell right now are that one, she no longer needs to build power to get her healing effective. It's just going to scale naturally over the course of the game. So if you can put damage into her, put deaths onto the Preds before he's able to get his prots online, before he's allowed to scale, this Hell does not play super well from behind. In addition to that, you have to pretty much make sure that Preds isn't going to be able to just cleanse the Ragnarok target out from Johnny's mouth.
Sure.
So it kind of leaves your options towards Rapio and Preds. If you can find Rapio in the jungle, that's absolutely the fight that Johnny should be taking in the early game. Fenrir is simply better. But if you're looking to facilitate one of your lanes, put it over towards this duo lane.
Oh, great lockdown there by Johnny, but an even better knockup by Rapio to stop the aggression there in the middle lane. I wouldn't be surprised if these two junglers kind of make their mark in that mid lane. I mean, Spudio and Kha'Zix on this left-hand side here. You mentioned it earlier, but that Jolt is such a great escape when you have a wide open lane, and then any lane paired with a Khepri is just going to be penultimately safe. But with the combination of that abduct and the ultimate, it's going to be tough to find any kind of aggression on the Spudio.
Yeah, Spudio is just kind of living his life right now. He's going to be able to just farm up, scale for this late game. He's going to be able to control some of these side buffs as well here. Fred's trying to make a little play there, but unfortunately, he's going tank. He doesn't have a whole lot of damage. That's really the biggest change in recent patches for this Hell. No longer are you looking at a burst mage here. Much more supportive in nature. The problem is that there's no real lockdown in this duo lane for the Wargs. It's like you mentioned, Spudio has good mobility. The Jolt gets him to safety very easily, and the Wargs don't have anything to stop that. They have Bramble Blast, but if that doesn't land the root and it's being used to clear, there's really no way to facilitate a gank on this duo lane for the Wargs. Rapio doesn't have much CC himself. He has a single knockup, but by the time you see Rapio and he's going for that knockup, it may be too late. Johnny, on the other hand, trying to impact this right side a bit more.
Yeah, kind of holding on to that push there from the Hercules. Most likely seeing Johnny wrapping around the corner, knowing the blue buff is coming online. No need to push it there. Ooh, Davey having to burn the beads there, avoiding the stun from Spudio. And anytime a beads goes down on this map and there's a Fenrir on the other side, you know Johnny's just licking his lips with the knowledge that those purification beads are going to be down for another 150 seconds. But something you touched on just a second ago that's kind of been living in my head, Preds with this cleanse. Kind of an instant counter to Johnny here in this Fenrir. I mean, basically a free pair of beads there ingrained in Hell's kit is going to be able to get any of Pred's teammates out of the jaws of that Fenrir pretty much scot-free.
Yeah, that's really the downside to it, right? Sure, you pulled the beads out, but you have to force Preds out as well. Now, notably, Preds is very low on mana right now. Likely will have to make a reset at some point, and look where Johnny is. They know
Level 5
mana isn't super good right now. Wargs, they know it too. They're playing back towards their tower. They understand the situation they're in. They understand they don't have the wave pressure. They understand that they don't have a whole lot of safety. They're just playing to try to scale up to this late game. Problem is, the later this game goes, I mean, yeah, their damage comes online, but that lack of CC is true across the board. Johnny forces out an ultimate Gunter in the mid lane. That's all their safety. That's all their CC is Gunter with fears and Kana with pushes.
Now, taking over into 4 minutes here. We're going to be in the early game for quite a while here, but already a slight 400 gold lead. About 300-400 here for the Hex Mambo with no kills on the board, and 4 minutes in. You know, I'm not surprised. Typically, you know, don't like to talk about gold early on in a game. It's not that big of a deal. It'll shake out. But just 4 minutes in, a 400 gold lead, 300-400 gold lead is kind of significant when you're just talking about trading neutral farm back and forth, Spooky.
Yeah, it's just that Mambo has had a bit more pressure in the lanes, so they're able to push these waves forward and then rotate to the side camps. You've seen Mambo be able to take that shield buff. You've seen Johnny rotate to the right side, help Julio out, make sure he was able to get that wave pushed in, rotate to his buff as well. They just have better ways to clear the map, and that allows them to build up a little bit more gold. It's a slow build up right now. It's spooling ever so gradually. The Wargs will have to be able to match this pressure at some point so they can make plays for their own camps. And right now, Mambo going for that shield camp once again, uncontested.
Johnny's roaming this left side of the map, and I can almost feel Johnny on this Fenrir. I can almost feel his like anxiety, his desire to make a play, either in the mid lane or the left side of the lane. He knows that he's going to get outscaled by Rapio on this Habwa. Johnny knows that his early game is really where he's going to shine. And something I wanted to ask you about here, Spooky, the Brawler's Beat Stick pick up first for Johnny. Obviously, countering Kana and Preds in that duo lane. Do you think that's going to hurt him, though, with, you know, typically something going like a Jotun's Wrath first is what you'd like to see out of a Fenrir, something a little bit of cooldown, a little bit of penetration. Do you think this Brawler's is going to come back to bite him, or do you think it's a good early pickup?
I think this is a very good early pickup, but he has to make use of it, right? We haven't seen Johnny really make any ganks so far. Now, that could be just because he was getting the B-Stick online before making his rotations. But now that it's here, he has to start looking to try to find some kills. And it just seems like that's been a difficult point for him, right? You've got the damage, you've got your pen, you've got your anti-heal. I expect to see Johnny maybe go to a little bit of a bulkier build later on. Have to see how that pans out, but it looks like Johnny may have finally found his target. No, he's still just waffling on it. Like, I don't like the decision to just keep walking to these lanes and walk back. Yes, Kana is by his tower. Yes, it's a Hercules. But at some point, you have to pull the trigger. You have to just say, okay, I'm Fenrir. I'm going to do the Fenrir game plan now.
Sure, and it's not like Kana is building a breastplate
Kind
of
of
valor,
golden blade.
or yeah, exactly. Not some kind of like heavy physical defense first item. He's not going to have the same takiness that a solo laner would if he went into a heavy defense item first. So prime opportunity here being kind of wasted perhaps a little bit by Johnny, who's roaming the map, maybe looking at Rapio, maybe looking at the mid laner Gunter here as well. Hex Mambo finally grouping up here on this left-hand side. Kha'Zix has also joined the fray here with Johnny. And that combination of this Khepri and this Fenrir, I mean, Johnny's going to be able to dive for pretty much free onto any target as long as Kha'Zix is backing him up with that Khepri ultimate.
Yeah, they have a ton of safety.
Here we go.
Finally, some action.
Oh, Prince gets yanked in. Wild Hunt comes out. A cleanse as well. The Sunny Swords are going to take down the support there, but Johnny's going to pick up first blood for Hex Mambo, and just a clean rotation there. And, I mean, what can be said? Drop all the ultimates, find a kill.
Took them about 7 minutes, almost 8, but they did finally find action on that left side. It is on Preds as well, which is a good starting point. We're able to pull the beads out from Davy as well. There's a lot of great things they took away from that. Really didn't have to give anything up themselves. Doesn't break the map wide open. They can't go for a Gold Fury off that. Still too early. I'm surprised they didn't decide to go ahead and look for the purple camp as well. But you take what you can get. Hopefully, this should facilitate Mambo coming back to this left side now that Davy's beads are down. Johnny likely will simply wait until his ultimate comes back up and then just make another trip over. They do have to be mindful of Pred still, though. 1 kill, that's good. He's still going to have the cleanses. You still have to be very mindful about the cooldowns. Ideally, what you see is Kha'Zix starting this fight off by finding a route into the abduct and force the cleanse out from Preds that way. And then you can come in on the Fenrir. Then you have a much better opportunity to find your CC. But the Wargs are just playing safe right now, Dimes. They're just playing back by their towers. They're not creating a whole lot of opportunities for Mambo to step forward and make these rotations. Even that kill we just saw, that was in the passage right by their purple buff. They were not overextending. If Mambo wants to find any kind of action in this game, they have to create it themselves. And while they have a composition for it, so far they've been a little bit hesitant to make it happen.
Well, tons of wards here for the Niflheim Wargs. I mean, if you look at the left side of the map, it's just bespeckled with blue, as not even 10 minutes into game number 1 here. Hex Mambo ready to take on this Gold Fury fight. Niflheim Wargs are grouping up and rotating in. It's going to be a 4v4 with the solo laners on the right side of the map. Johnny leaping in, stunning Rapio, kicking things off here. Preds waiting around the corner, dishing out a little bit of damage onto the backline of Hex Mambo. And neither team ready to commit to this team fight. I mean, the Niflheim Wargs, they're just waiting to scale up. They know that once that crushing wave really comes to full fruition, their team fight's going to absolutely pop off. And the Mambo clearly aren't ready to flip that coin.
I think that was a good call from both teams there. Just a little bit of a heat check. Mambo starts with the Fury, sees how much Wargs is paying attention, and with how careful and safe the Wargs have been playing, this was a very good check to make. It tells you how willing are the Wargs to step up and how well are they warding right now. They now know that the Wargs are more than happy to step out of these tower lines and meet them at the objectives. They know that they have vision control on that side, and maybe not as much on this Pyromancer.
Whew, Preds almost snagging the Pyromancer there for the Wargs, but the Hex Mambo able to take that one down. So the first neutral objective in this contest goes the way of Hex Mambo, and actually the Niflheim Wargs clawing back that gold lead that they found early, or excuse me, the gold deficit that the Wargs found early in this game. As did you just see what I saw, Spooky?
I sure did just see what you saw there. That is tragic for Davey, burning the ultimate only to lose the shield pump. But go on, guys. Go on.
I mean, you got to in a game like this, right, where you're taking over the 10-minute mark. There's only been 1 kill. You're basically just neutral farming in lane. It's a slow-paced game. What do you need your ultimate for? Like, you're not going to team fight with it. You're not going to find a pick with it. You're not going to 1v1 with it. It's going to be up in 60 seconds, so you might as well drop it on a buff, see if you can get a steal.
Well, that's now 60 seconds where Johnny can come over and say, hey, I noticed that you don't have your ultimate to stop me this time. Would you like to die? And the answer to that is probably no from Davey, but the thing is, without his ultimate, he doesn't actually get much of a choice. Yeah, he's got the beads back up, and that'll stop one thing. And if Mambo's playing it right, it'll stop something from Kha'Zix on the Khepri. It'll stop either the Abduct or the Solar Flare, the Root. It's not going to keep him alive on a 3-man rotation.
Kha'Zix looking at Davey here. No ultimate online. Wow, connecting with the Brutalize. Doesn't even need the Ragnarok ultimate there. That third ability from Fenrir shredding through the Hunter. And it turns out that Davey blowing the ultimate on that shield buff came back to bite him.
I mean, that's just the go button for the Mambo. They've been looking for this aggression. The way that Johnny has been pathing around this jungle, yes, he's been hesitant to pull the trigger on things, but it's showing you exactly where his mindset is at. He wants to get active. He wants to find these opportunities. Now they're going for the Gold Fury. Maybe a response here. They're wise enough not to step all the way up.
Gunter looking forward there. I mean, plenty of long-range options here from the Morgan Le Fay. Kind of surprised that Gunter didn't try to maybe pop that ultimate. But of course, like you mentioned, you lose a CC immune ultimate, and all of a sudden it's the go button for the Fenrir. So maybe Gunter a little bit worrisome about potentially blowing that ultimate for a coin flip objective steal and getting penalized by the Fenrir later.
Look at the stats of this game right now. It's only 2 kills on board, but Gunter in some trouble.
Oh, Brutalized once again, just shredding through the health bar of the Morgan Le Fay. Over the wall, Hawk finds little home sweet home action there on the Baba Yaga, and finally someone other than the Hunter and the Jungler are on the board. It's a pretty even split here. One for the jungle, one for the mid, one for the ADC for the Hex Mambo. Spreading the love here with the kill column. Johnny invading this purple buff. It's Preds and Davey versus 3. Habwa here making the rotation. It's Rapio. Big crushing wave opportunity here. Shredding through Johnny is the jungler for the Niflheim Wargs. The Swords of Retribution already used here. Spudio knocked up. A little bit of movement speed here from Preds. And Kana making the rotation from the solo lane. Rapio finds a second. And the Niflheim Wargs answer back.
Excellent response from the Wargs here. Not enough to bring the game up to an even state. It is still the Mambo leading after that one, but it shows you that the Wargs still have some fight in them. They've got some life. Gonna cost them this tower in the mid lane, which will extend that gold lead just a little bit more. Kind of tragic that they don't get more from that fight. The Wargs aren't even pushing down this tier 1 in the left side just yet. Overall, it's still a loss for the Hex Mambo, or for the Wargs, I'm sorry. Mambo is just playing this map extremely well right now. Their macro gameplay is really just what they need. Sure, Kata made a rotation. Julio wasn't there. Julio didn't need to be there. He wasn't actually going to change anything. So it's a better decision for him to just stay over on the right side of the map, collect the farm, keep building up gold and XP for his team, and just make himself that much harder to deal with. Once he does start making these rotations, Julio is level 16 right now, Dimes. Like, the Wargs do not want to see this guy running in on his horse right now. He's going to be an absolute terror on these fights. And if you look at the map, you look where the Mambo is drifting towards. It's the Pyromancer that they're going to be looking at next. Then likely start seeing some Fire Giant dances, some more Primal Fury dances. Wargs are going to have to find some place to dig their heels in. And they're going to have to find an actual win on this map. They need to take down some of these towers and get some gold into their pockets before this 3K lead expands any further.
I'm not sure where the Wargs dig in their heels, though, Spooky, is the issue here. Because the one time that we've seen the Niflheim Wargs answer back against Hex Mambo and pick up 2 kills for their jungler was when Hex Mambo invaded the purple buff, right? It was Mambo stepping forward into the Warg side of the map, and then the Wargs responding with a good rotation from Kana and Rapio, big crushing wave in a tight corridor, but it wasn't the Wargs hitting the gas pedal, pressing the go button. It was a response. So, I mean, where do you dig in? Where do you find the pressure to get these towers? Where do you find these buff invades? Especially, I mean, we're at 16 minutes, Spooky. We're pushing solidly into the mid game here, as Gold Fury is going to be online quicker than not.
Here's the thing. The Wargs, they don't have the engagement comp. It is entirely on Mambo to start these fights off if they want to get anything done. And that's why you've been seeing Johnny kind of waffling around the jungles, because he has to be the one to start things off in the early game. Now that we're drifting more towards the mid to late, it's still Mambo who are the initiators in the fight. The Wargs rely on counter initiation right now. Yes, Kana can find a pick, but more often than not, he's going to be doing that after the Mambo has sent someone into dive, and he can either choose to go into the back line and try to push some of this damage off, or he simply turns on Johnny, who's diving into his back line. You've got Preds to keep your team sustained through the fights, cleanse out any CCs that Mambo gets, and the rest of it is just damage. Rapio, Gunter, Davey, they're looking to just explode whoever dives into the back and then turn the fight onto Mambo that way. Around these Fire Giants, we're likely going to see Mambo either starting the fight or starting the objective before the Wargs step forward.
Well, before we get to that next Gold Fury fight here, Spooky, an item pickup here I want to pick your mind about. This Shogun's Kasari from the side of Johnny. A defensive item here on this hyper-aggressive Fenrir. Does that kind of... hold that thought for just a second. I want to come back to it. I think it's important. Pred's locked down here by Kha'Zix. So pull in.
Boy.
No cleanse available. Pred's locked down by the Wild Hunt. Here comes the rest of the Niflheim Wargs, though. Crushing waves comes through.
Ooh.
Oh, Hawk revived by that Scare's Blessing. Johnny finds Davey in the back line. And a well-timed Khepri ultimate. It's going to keep the mid laner alive for only a little bit longer as Kana made the rotation from solo. Takes out the mid laner. Johnny might be in a spot of trouble here. Shots coming out from Spudio. Aegis a little bit early. Kana with the displacement, pushing back the ADC of the Hex Mambo. But here comes Julio. Healthy ultimate not online for the solo laner. Spudio finds Gunter. Down goes another member of the Wargs. Preds looking rather tasty here. Julio eats, leaves no crumbs. Kana going down. Spudio with the double. And it's opened up the map wide for the Hex Mambo. Looks like it could be a tier 2, but why? You can go just Fire Giant.
Yeah, that is a full deicide for Mambo. That's exactly what I was talking about there, Dimes. Mambo are the ones who start that fight off, and it doesn't go super well at the start, right? Wargs answer back pretty cleanly. Rapio finds a huge crushing wave. Great for them. But then they keep pushing it. They keep going a little bit further. Julio makes the rotation. Wargs don't have the team composition to be the aggressors there. They tried to go and take that fight for too long, and the Mambo just turned it around on them. Leads to a great Fire Giant, which is going to break this game wide open for Mambo. This is multiple towers going down at this point. Extend this gold lead just a little bit further. But I want to loop back to something here. I want to loop back to what you asked about at the start of the fight, and is that Shogun's Kusari on Johnny.
Came up big for Spudio there.
Yeah, it was huge for Spudio, and that's part of the reason that that fight went so well for Mambo. Johnny had a few more magical prots, so Rapio and Gunter not doing quite as much as they probably were wanting to do to Johnny. And Spudio simply gets to pop off with those basics. He was quite far in there, and being in the area around Johnny just allows him to machine gun through the Wargs. They simply don't have the defenses to stand up to that kind of damage output. Their team is largely squishy. Yes, Preds is building tanky, but he doesn't have the Guardian base stats. He has mage base stats, so he'll be tankier than a normal mage, but he won't be as tanky as something like Kha'Zix on this Khepri.
That combination of Shogun's Kasari and the spread shot there from Spudio. Yeah. Of course, Ishtar allowing that first ability of Ishtar is allowing her to choose what shape her autos are going to take as long as that ability is active. I mean, allowed to free cast. Like, literally sitting in the middle of what looked like 3 members of the Wargs and just railgunning the entire team. This Fire Giant goes down. Tier 1 tower in the right side goes down. Tier 1 in the left side goes down. Looks like it's going to be a Tier 2 in the left side as well, unless the Niflheim Wargs have anything to say about it. Hex Mambo. Only the duo lane on this left-hand side here, but the rest of the team moving up the middle lane, looping around at the back line. Keep your eyes on Julio and Johnny, looking to shove out the back line and the front line. Pretty much everyone from the Niflheim Wargs as Julio is face tanking the entirety of the team. Here comes Johnny leaping in. Ragnarok grabbing that priority target in Preds, who just falls without any kind of whimper from the Niflheim Wargs. Kana locked down as well. The shred is here for Hex Mambo. They can just choose their target. Rapio forced to use that crushing wave defensively. Kana surviving with a sliver of HP. It's going to be a Tier 2 tower. It's going to be a left side Phoenix. And it's going to be Hex Mambo with the pedal to the metal.
Clinical play from Mambo. Perfect flank coming out there. Julio did so much work in that fight, and look at his health bar right now. You have the Guan Yu healing. Oh my goodness, Kana cannot be up there. Does find the driving strike back to safety, but this is going to cost them another Tier 2 tower. Mambo's feeling it. They can just go right over to this right side, break that tower down. They've extended their gold lead now past the 10,000 mark. This is not a simple deficit, Dimes. This is the gutters. Wargs are trying to claw their way back out from the gutters at this point. They have some tools for it. They do still have Kana around these defenses. The Phoenixes are a little bit easier to defend. You've got Gunter and Preds here to keep you sustained. Mambo has a lead. They will have to get a little bit dirty down in those gutters to take those birds down.
Now, the Hex Mambo, I mean, the way they played that left side lane, part of me thought they might have just maybe try to roll the dice there on the right side, Phoenix, but playing it real tight here is Hex Mambo. Backing off, hitting some power spikes, Bloodforge online here for the Fenrir, rounding out a Deathbringer for Spudio. I mean, Spudio is just going to be an absolute problem moving forward in these team fights.
So much damage.
Big time build here for Hawk, who's been essentially, I mean, the whole backline of the Hex Mambo has been free casting. But with this next Fire Giant spawn, just 23 minutes. I mean, it's not even like we're talking enhanced Fire Giant. It's 23 minutes into this game, and it feels like Hex Mambo have an absolute chokehold on this one. It's going to be a free FG, most likely a free Phoenix. Big time crushing wave, big time Kana displacement. I mean, the Niflheim Wargs got to come up big in this next base defense.
Yeah, the timer on this game really is the silver lining for the Wargs. Just like you said, it's 23 minutes. It's not the enhanced Fire Giant.
Oh, no.
Gunter may not be wanting to be here. Ultimate for ultimate, but ultimately Gunter will fall, and that opens up the Oni Fury. Who needs an Oni Fury dimes? Yeah. It's just straight to the Phoenix for Hex Mambo.
Johnny was just, I mean, it's not even like Johnny has a crazy, like, level 20 to level 20, but it's just Fenrir, man. It's Fenrir building damage with the Shogun's Kasari, magical defense online, and now the Hex Mambo are sieging down this mid lane Phoenix. It's dropping underneath the auto attacks from Spudio, and backing off is Hex Mambo. I thought with a 4v5 and Gunter down for another 25 seconds, that could have just been the end call, but Hex Mambo say no. We're going to back off. We're going to take every single objective the Niflheim Wargs have. We're going to take this Pyromancer. We're going to get that bomb online. We're going to get the Gold Fury. We're going to get the right side Phoenix. And Hex Mambo says, we're just going to own you, Niflheim Wargs.
I really like this decision from Hex Mambo. Yes, it was a 4v5, but it's not the enhanced Fire Giant. It's not the game-ending Fire Giant. At this point, you still want to make sure you're not giving the Wargs any opportunities to come back. How do you do that? By not inching into their base, and by stripping all of the resources away from the map. If the Mambo had pushed up, yeah, probably could have ended the game, but there's that chance. There's still that chance that the Wargs can just dig in their heels. They've got all their ultimates and put up a big fight there. With the damage from the Titan, things look a little bit dicier. Now they've got Oni Fires in 2 lanes. They've got their Runic Bomb. This bird stands no chance.
Absolutely zero. Johnny in the middle lane, who's capable of soloing any member of the Niflheim Wargs. Hex Mambo hovering around this right side, moving forward. Julio leading the charge here. Spudio dumping auto attacks into the right side. Phoenix, Fire Giant helping out with that as well. A couple of Pyro Bombs take out that right side bird. And now with a respawn to the left side, scratch that. Johnny says, not on my watch. And now all 3 birds down for the Niflheim Wargs. Their Titan totally exposed to Hex Mambo here, who once again are not pushing the issue, backing off, healing up, grabbing the last items for this final push here. I mean, do the Hex Mambo wait for that Fire Giant respawn, or do they just shove it down and dive this tight?
I would have preferred them to go, oh my goodness, I would have preferred to see them go for an end call on that particular push, just because they still had some Oni Fires, and they had a ton of pressure on that base.
Oh yeah.
Now that they've decided to go ahead and reset, I do think you want to wait for that Fire Giant to come back up, because the last thing you want to do is start a fight in the enemy base and have your Fire Giant fall off. As suddenly you're not doing the damage. Now, they do still have enough of a lead that they probably win that fight anyway, but it's adding in that extra chance that the Wargs come back. It's giving them the opportunity, and now that the Fire Giant has fallen off, do you really want to step all the way forward? It looks like the Mambo's answer is yes.
Oh, crushing wave forced defensively. That's going to be a big-time game changer here for this base defense for the Niflheim Wargs. I mean, Spudio, with those long-range auto attacks, anyone on the Niflheim Wargs is subject to being poked down and put in the ground here by Hex Mambo. Lockdown from Cossacks. Gunter dropping solo. Julio chasing him down there with the cavalry charge, isn't able to find the mid laner, but Gunter goes down to the likes of Johnny, diving the backline with a great wraparound. Ragnarok going to grab Khan and get him out of the fight, but it's just a distraction, allowing the rest of Hex Mambo to dump their kits into this Titan. Still 4 members of the Niflheim Wargs alive here. Davey rushing back to Fountain, getting a little bit of a heal there. Hex Mambo not even paying attention to the Niflheim Wargs. Full focus on the Titan, and it goes down for a game number 1 victory for the Mambo.
Times. I mean, I just can't get a read on when the Mambo wants to end the game, man.
Yeah.
I thought maybe when they had Fire Giant after taking all 3 Phoenixes down, awesome, great opportunity. Nah, we're going to wait until the Fire Giant falls off and
Yeah,
then
why
not
not?
refresh it and just go for the end. And you know what? It's the right call. They had enough of a lead that Spudio just needed like 5 seconds on the Titan, and he just chunked it down. Gunter taking so much damage at the start of that really is what kind of lost the Wargs that base defense. Forced out, put down, without your AoE mage, so much harder to do.
I mean, I don't like to say this often, Spooky. I think all of our competitors here in the Smite Challenger circuit are high quality Smite players, incredible talent. That just seemed like kind of a team diff. I mean, Hex Mambo from second 0 had their game plan. They executed it. The Wargs couldn't step forward without getting punished. I mean, the one time we saw Davey use an ultimate, kind of throw it out there, got punished for it, right? Johnny controlled the entire map. And Hex Mambo just step by step by step slowly built their lead. And then when it was time to break open the game, they burst it wide open and it didn't feel like the Wargs had a comeback mechanic.
I think the biggest issue that the Wargs had was, it's like you said, it was a team diff because the composition of that team did not allow the Wargs to really fight back into the Mambo. They had damage. That was all they had. They had damage, and then they had some more damage, and then they had some healing in there, but it was mostly damage. They needed a way to break those fights up. They needed more CC. I think something in the jungle like a Hoonbot would have gone a lot better because instead of just purely relying on the damage that it brings, you also have a giant area that can disrupt these fights because all the Mambo was doing was dive, put more damage into them, lock them down. They had all the CC they needed for it. They had the front line. And man, Preds was not a frontliner in that game. I mean, we saw it on that Phoenix defense where he was simply picked up, taken back to the team. He died in 3 seconds. That was not a tank. They need to change the draft up a little bit and find something else.
The Niflheim Wargs taking it back to the drawing board here for game number 2, Spooky. We're going to take a quick break and hop straight into that one in this best of 3 set. The Wargs and the Mambo coming at you in just a second. Stick around.
What am I holding on to? If it could be a black
Howdy, folks. Welcome back into the SMITE Challenger Circuit. It is week 2, day number 3. We find ourselves in the European side of things. Dimes here, play-by-play. My good pal, Spooky. Are you that way? Yeah, my good pal, Spooky.
Yeah, you got it.
My favoriteest analyst of all time joining me here. And Spooky, yeah? Did you not
I'm
know
telling.
That? Oh,
I'm
live on
holding
camera,
that
you're
one.
finding out right now. Spooky, Niflheim Wargs, Hex Mambo. Tough scenes here for the Wargs, who kind of got choked out in game number 1. Talked about the compositional difference, the playstyle difference. What do we need to do in picks and bans in game number 2 for the Wargs to switch it up here as we head straight into P's and B's?
Well, honestly, it's much of what we already talked about here, Grizzles. We need a little bit more CC.
I'm trying to find something to throw at you.
We need some way to disrupt the Mambo as they start getting active on this game. The Hell was simply not it. Yes, it gives you great sustain. Yes, it does a good job of getting you out of Fenrir Ultimate, but it doesn't do a good job of getting itself out of Fenrir Ultimate. It doesn't do a good job of stopping things like the Guan Yu from diving into you. You're not going to put all your bans towards getting rid of Johnny's Fenrir and, Julio's Guan. You have to change your draft. Get some more CC, get some more peel, get a better, bigger, beefier front line that can actually tank some of that damage and also find a way to start these fights off. Wargs were always on the back foot. They need a way to actually be the initiators. And something like that can be the Hercules they went back to. But also find maybe a bit more aggressive support. They've got plenty of options for them. They do ban the Khepri and the Fenrir, which I'm not a fan of.
I can tell.
But that's what Wargs has decided to do. So
no analysis. Just, that's what they chose to do. It's whatever. Moving along. Marty Yamoja Aphrodite. So 3 for 3 Hex Mambo going back to what works. And the Wargs switching it up big time here. Not loving this.
Not
first
switching it
pick
up.
for presumably Rapio in the jungle, who used Crushing Wave for my money one time offensively. I think maybe twice, using it more often as an escape route than an initiator or a finishing touch for a kill as the Mambo. Looking at this Guan Yu, who paid dividends for Julio, and the Agni, who got banned out last game, looking to be the pick here for Hawk. I mean, you were looking for more initiation. You were looking for a little bit more tankiness here from the Wargs. Habois certainly not it. Let's see where they go with 2 and 3.
Man, this is already so good from Mambo.
Oh, yeah.
Guan Yu is already good at initiating things. You give Hawk this Agni to follow it up.
Killer.
Wargs are not moving, man. Like, they haven't even picked a support yet. Dimes
down.
Dimes,
What do you got,
listen,
Spooky?
I have a lot of words, but about 80% of them I cannot say. So I'm just going to say that I'm not pleased to see the Hell come back. Now, before this, I was thinking there's a world where this Habois maybe goes to Gunter in the mid lane. Now I would like to see the Hell go to Gunter in the mid lane, because I just don't want it back on Prides. I don't want to see the Hell in support. It just didn't do anything in game 1. And I don't think Johnny on the Fenrir was the reason that was happening. I think you give Johnny any jungler with any modicum of CC, and you're going to be running into the same problem. Thor is the pickup, and frankly, that feels harder to react to than the Fenrir. He can come down from the sky, he can come from over the walls. This doesn't look better for the Wargs right now.
Yeah, you talk about a modicum of CC. Thor's got it in multiple abilities, right? Like, he's doing fine in terms of CC, and especially with Hell, no leaps, no dashes, and so she can cleanse herself, sure, but if you get caught without beads and Agni locks you down, Thor just throws down the wall, and you physically cannot go through it without a Phantom Shell. It's going to be something to keep your eye on. Baba Yaga and Merlin, a couple mid picks, shots there, so clearly the Mambo think this Hell is 100% going in the support role. Kumbhakarna, the ban away for the Niflheim Warg. Same thing with the Ishtar. So Kernunos, the obvious pickup here for Spedia for the Hex Mambo. And this Heimdall, I want to touch on it real quick here from the Niflheim Wargs. Not going with the Ishtar or the Kernunos, the two hunters that are just back to back to back, but instead picking up Heimdall for the first hunter selected here in this PMB phase. I mean, is there something that Heimdall's bringing to this draft that Kernunos and Ishtar is not? I'm just scratching my head.
I'm scratching my head too here, Dimes, because I'm looking at it, and you're going to ban away Ishtar. You pick your hunter top 3. You don't go for either the top 2. And then you ban Kumbhakarna, leave the Kernanos up.
Right.
And you've got this Heimdall. Like, if you're going to leave one of these 2 up, I would prefer to see the Ishtar left up against the Heimdall, because at least then you can still use your Bifrost and get out of danger. All this Heimdall really brings is safety. Now, he does scale incredibly well as the game goes on. He can burst targets down very well. He's got CC immunity. He's got one of the best escape tools in the game, great vision. But man, like, you're going against a Thor and Agni. I don't know that that's going to be enough. It feels like they realized they needed more CC, and they thought, well, what if we put it on our Hunter? That's an option, I guess. But I think this Horus is going to struggle in the solo lane still. I think you're still going to see a lot of pressure being put towards this left side with the Thor, the Agni rotations. I don't think this dual lane is looking much better for the Wargs right now.
Well, the Hex Mambo round out their draft with the ever-popular Terra here, Spooky. That is a filthy combination for the Mambo, and the Wargs looking to fight back, claw their way back into a game number 3 here as we head into game number 2, Niflheim Wargs and the Hex Mambo. And something else I want to point out here, the Hercules unbanned and Kana going with the Horus instead. Also a bit of a question mark for me there, Spooky. I mean, is there something that Horus is going to provide you that Hercules is? I mean, Hercules has been impactful in the recent weeks of competitive Smite, and it doesn't feel like Horus brings that same kind of displacement and disruption that the Herc does.
So I think there's a couple reasons they go for this Horus instead. One, Horus has also been pretty popular recently. He still has pretty good pressure. He has good CC. You've already tried the Hercules into this Guan Yu. It didn't work. Now, granted, neither did the Hell or the Habois, but we're going to change things like a little bit at a time here for the Wargs. We're going to start over here on the Horus. It does provide the team a little bit more. It doesn't bring that same disruption, that's correct. But it does provide a little bit more healing to the team. And the lockdown is actually really good. On top of that, it also has a really good way of just stopping Julio's Talo assault. Hercules did too. But the big thing is to the skies. The Horus ultimate, being able to rotate this team around. We saw the Warg struggle to match Mambo. What if you just don't have to match them? What if you see Mambo on an objective, you just Horus ult to a different one and split the map? That's the value that this Horus is bringing.
That'll come in the mid game here. So, eyes on the solo lane here, though, as Julio's dropping low to Kana already. This Horus pick is doing well for the solo laner here for the Niflheim.
He hurts.
And yeah, big time. And I think solo lane, we're not going to see them rotate for 15 minutes or so. It's going to be a little bit before we start talking about Kana and Julio in earnest. But I think whoever grabs pressure in this lane is certainly going to make an impact on this middle lane. Speaking of making an impact here, Rapio locked down behind that Thor wall. Beads forced. And Johnny with the finishing touches on the first kill of this game. Pre-2 minutes already, quite a departure from game number 1. And Spooky, that's the issue with this Niflheim Wargs composition. No leaps over this Thor wall and no Phantom Shell online.
Yeah, you've got 2 people that can do it, and Kana can only do it if he has a teammate on the other side.
With assistance, sure.
Gunter can fly over it with Celestial Flight. That's about it. It's just so easy right now for Johnny to find value. Rapio has to be way more careful given how squishy he is and how early this game is. He doesn't have a ton of damage on the Subwa. That's something that comes in time. He'll scale up, but he has to get the items. Right now, he's just an easy kill for Johnny if he ever sees him. And Johnny, he's feeling himself at this point. He's on the prowl. Perhaps looking for a blue buff invade here as well. You can see he's going to run into Rapio. That's not a fight that the Subwa wants right now.
Certainly. And Kana on this right-hand side, absolutely subject to gank potential here from Johnny, just simply because that first item, Hasten Blade, right? That's not going to, similar to the Hercules of last game, that's not going to provide many protections. So Johnny certainly having his pick of the litter here on who he wants to go on early in this game, but a nice little rotation there from Johnny is going to secure him the enemy speed buff, or at least one of the enemy speed buffs. Might make it 2 for 2 here. Is he going for both? Oh, that is just BM at that point. And Rapio's following behind, but too late. Oh, is he going to have the knock-up? No, Johnny grabs not one, but both of the enemy speed buffs and is going to make it out totally fine with that hammer. That is tough scenes for Rapio, dude.
Matt, I mean, that's what happens, right? He saw Johnny on that blue buff, made the decision not to track him in that jungle. So Johnny just wraps around, takes both speed buffs. That's extra XP. It's really a big deal to lose both those speed buffs because now Rapio is going to have a little bit of a tougher time getting to his camps quickly. He's still going to get to them, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be less efficient. He's not getting to them as fast. He's not putting them on cooldown as quickly, as they're going to be respawning a little bit later. Whereas Johnny is going to take 4 speed buffs on the map and just cruise through this jungle. Add on to that the Anvil of Dawn, now that he's level 5. Johnny can come from just about anywhere, and it's going to be a severe problem for the Wargs. They have to get these wards up, and they have to get them deep to make sure they can see where Johnny's going to be channeling the ultimate from, so they can catch him before he's just crashing down on their heads.
Wargs probably have a minute or two to get situated, though. I'd be surprised if Johnny tried to make any moves on this map without finishing that Transcendence first. It seems like and they're just going to be purchased as Transcendence goes on the Thor there. So a little bit of stacking time here for Johnny. Maybe Anvil of Dawn, not quite the first thing he's thinking about. Getting some stacks on that item is going to be absolutely crucial. Hasten Blade finished here for Kana. Rotating to this right-hand side is Johnny, so might keep an eye on that side of the map. But meanwhile, the Hex Mambo haven't been letting up at all in this duo lane. You saw Spudio tick over to level 5 and immediately drop the Wild Hunt on Davey there, who had to burn the beads in return. So 75 seconds still here for Davy's beads to come back online. It's Kana channeling that into the Sky's ultimate. Johnny not able to find a couple more shots on him in order to put Kana in the ground. So a couple ultimates expended on this right side of the map for both Johnny and Julio. That'll cease the aggression here. No escape for Gunter, used preemptively. Kha'Zix is just shoving out that middle lane, allowing his mid laner Hawk there to grab some extra farm and calm on the map, but plenty of opportunity on this left-hand side.
Yeah, it's calm in the sense that there's not a lot of kills happening.
Sure.
But Mambo is playing very aggressively right now. They are riding the momentum from game number 1, and they've already built themselves up a little bit of a lead on just the 1 kill, hovering around the 1,000 mark. It's not severe, but we saw this in game number 1. We saw this 400 gold lead, and it just kept building up. And now a dash down, Johnny's here.
Oh, there's no way Kana makes it out of this one. Johnny holding the wall, waiting to see how Kana's going to respond. Oh, I love this positioning from Johnny. Just such smart play here. But Kana, like you said, does damage. A couple of shots out there from Julio and Johnny. Johnny takes his fair share of poke, but able to put Kana in the ground there. The rather squishy at this point in the game Horus without any kind of defensive items online. And it's going to be a 2-0 start here for Johnny on this Thor, which is not what you want to see if you're a backliner for the Wargs.
Yeah, excellent discipline from Johnny there. He was just waiting until Kana got right into his face. No chance of missing that wall. And because he waited so long, by the time that he had stunned Kana, it put him low enough that he could simply finish up the kill while he was CC'd. That was what they were looking for there. Not giving him the opportunity to get the dash back out of danger. I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see him try to dash to his minion wave. But that's okay. He'll come back from it. Maybe he won't. Either way, it's good to see Johnny being a little bit more active in this game. And he's putting it towards this solo lane, trying to make sure he cannot simply rotate across the map. Because Horus is one of those solo laners that if you leave him alone, oh my goodness. Woo! Johnny just goes away. I honestly thought he was out of there.
A little bit too big for his britches there. Johnny maybe feeling himself with that 2-0 start. Steps forward a little bit too aggressively. And good CC out there from Gunter. The dueling dragons locking down. Why am I doing it again, Spooky? I'm doing your job. Tell us how that kill occurred.
Well, Johnny was too big for his britches there.
Okay.
He got a little aggressive, too much CC.
All
he
right.
got burst down. That's what happened. Like,
Phenomenal.
Pretty much.
Spooky.
No, it was a great ult from Gunter though. Pushed Johnny back into danger. Actually got the beads out of him as well. This is actually a really good opportunity that's opened up for the Wargs if they can capitalize on it. Hawk takes some damage there. But I really think the Wargs need to be more active in this mid lane. If they allow Hawk to scale up right now, you've already seen the damage he can put out, the CC he can put out. Rapio's been just a little too quiet in this game for my liking.
I mean, kind of a reprisal from game number 1 here, and it's tough to get early pressure with this hub wall. You know,
yes.
the rotations are kind of tough with really only having that water carpet to close the distance. Of course, not having the blink is a massive bane here for Rapio, having to go the beads to try to counter that CC coming out from Thor, coming out from Kha'Zix, coming out from Spudio, coming out from Hawk, coming out from... You get the point. It's so much CC on the map here for Hex Mambo. This Habwa not able to go to the blink. It's just, I mean, easy lockdown without CC immunity. So it's gonna be tough for Rapio to really make anything happen proactively.
Yeah, and this comes down again to the fact that the Wargs don't have any CC to set him up. They've got it in Kana, but are you going to be taking your Habwa over to the right side of the map to try to kill Guan Yu on cooldown? No, you've got Doom Orbs, you got some pen, but you don't have the damage for all of that. Small skirmish over the shield buff may be what Rapio's looking for.
Wrap around on the backhand side, but Johnny's doing the exact same thing. It's a 3v3. Do they
Anvil.
know he's here? Anvil of Dawn up in the air. Who's going to be the target? Is it going to be the Habwa off the mark there? Good wall stops the retreat from Rapio. Knock up onto Johnny. Rapio falling low here. Kha'Zix using that Terra ultimate, giving his team a little bit of extra stats here. Rapio dashing in aggressively, but a great wild hunt for the transformation. The beats come up big for Rapio, able to take out Kha'Zix. Johnny answering back. So jungler for support. Kha'Zix is screaming worth there. Mid laners have made their rotations, but it's going to be a disengage for both these squads. And that's certainly a win coming up big for Hex Mambo.
Yeah, Mambo got what they really needed out of that one. Hawk's not done yet. He's going to put a lot of damage into Davey. Davey will get out of that one. Hawk takes some damage back. Stab? Does he die? No, he should be okay.
Take damage!
He does take!
Gunner got him!
Guys, oh my goodness!
Okay, now I take it back. Spooky, the Hex Mambo do not come out of top. Too aggressive. There from Hawk looking for a little bit extra on the backhand side. Davey does not fall, escapes, but Hawk does with a tick damage from Gunter.
That is simply tragic. That brings this game pretty much back to even.
Oh, yeah.
That could have been a lot cleaner. If Johnny had landed the Anvil of Dawn directly onto Rapio's head, probably simply kills him, and they don't trade anything out there.
At least burns the beads.
But that's not how it goes. That's not what happens. And so we can't break down the hypotheticals. We can only look at the reality of the situation. The reality is that Mambo is struggling to find success right now. They've been consistently looking for aggressive plays, and they just have not really been working out. That's the second buff Johnny's gone to. Tried to steal away, not able to get it, and it's just burning time when he could be farming his own camps. Now getting collapsed on, could be in some trouble, should be able to hammer out. CC's not quite enough there.
Johnny's doing just fine here, but maybe a little bit of a switch up from that calculated aggression we saw in game number 1 where Hex Mambo bided their time and then really choked out this map. Johnny is certainly feeling himself on the floor. Aggressive rotations, aggressive pathing, looking for big players on the right and the left-hand side. Anvil of Dawn looking for Kana under tower. Julio kind of distant here, not really ready for the follow-up. Once again, off the mark with that Anvil of Dawn ultimate. Kana a little bit tankier this time around with some defense items online. Julio's not done, but Johnny's not committing. Double tap. Doesn't in Kana. And it kind of seemed like a little bit of miscommunication there, maybe some waffling on the side of this combination of Julio and Johnny.
Yeah, if Julio had been a little bit closer, that probably goes a little bit differently there. If Julio had used the ultimate, probably goes a little bit differently there.
Johnny connected with the Anvil of Dawn.
Johnny could have landed the Anvil of Dawn. That would have helped. But so far, it's just been a lot of aggression from Johnny. And it's like you said, it hasn't really been working out. It's not that same calculated aggression. He's not waiting for his opportunities. He's trying to force them right now. and it's simply not working out. He needs to be a little bit more patient, I feel, and wait for his team to help set him up a little bit more. They've got plenty of setup, but because they don't wait for it, cost them a Pyromancer.
Speaking of forcing the issue here, Johnny once again trying to get something done. Burning the beads as well. Those are going to be down for the next 100 seconds or so, as Into the Skies was forced there by Kana. And like you said, a Pyromancer going down for the Niflheim Wargs. And for the first time in 2 games of Smite here, the Niflheim Wargs have accumulated themselves a very slight gold lead to the tune of about 100 gold. But it is a lead nonetheless, where for the last 35 or 40 minutes of Smite, they've been behind as Kha'Zix is dropping low to the combination of Preds and Gunta. Yu Hong does damage. Surprise, surprise. Rapio falling low, locked in from the Thor wall. A knock-up. Not going to find it quite yet. Hawk with the auto attack over the wall. Rapio looking for the final touches on Hawk there is not going to find them. That could have gone either way. But the jungler for the Niflheim Wargs falls. Johnny low. Preds dishing out damage. Gunter over the wall. Lockdown. Preds finds the final shot, and it's going to be jungle for jungle.
Man, it's just not looking clean from Mambo. They had the ability to win that fight, because Gunter started that fight by dumping everything into Kha'Zix, who did not die. He was feeling just fine. And it was a good ult from Johnny. He found the target he was looking for. Gets speeds, no worries. But then it feels like Mambo split their targets, and they weren't sure who they were going to go on. Spudio was looking one way, Johnny was looking that way. Hawk was still trying to kill Rapio. They have to actually focus their fire if they want to win these fights. They've got the CC for it. They've got the damage for it. But just feels like they're all operating on a different axis right now. Spudio's not free casting like he was last game. He's actually getting pressured, which is surely a contributing factor. Gunter is looking much better on this Yu Hong than he did on the Morgan Le Fay. And now Mambo has to find a way to get on the front foot if they actually want to take this game, though.
Approaching 15 minutes here, Spooky, tied at 4-4. Gunter has certainly been the player to watch here for the Niflheim Wargs. I mean,
absolutely,
mechanically connecting with great ultimates, good CC, the Phoenix Fire as well, but just great positioning and great damage. And the damage charts reflect that, with Gunter leading the charge here a little over 8K. Speaking of leading the charge, Spudio dropping low, forcing the Aegis, and the entire team of the Niflheim Wargs is laying into the ADC, who's still alive somehow with the help of that Terra. Rapio finishing off the ADC, who's going to be in the grayscale for 30 seconds. The solo laners have made their rotations over to this Gold Fury pit. It's going to be a 4v5. Can the Hex Mambo stall out this Gold Fury long enough for Spudio to rejoin them?
They should be able to stall this out, but I don't think Wargs are going to let them.
Oh, what a great dueling dragons there, connecting with 2 members of the Hex Mambo, allowing the Niflheim Wargs to follow up with the damage. And now as a 5-man squad here, the Niflheim Wargs are just waiting for Julio to come back through those dimensions. And finally, we're seeing this Heimdall pay dividends now, as the CC lockdown is good enough to take out the solo laner for the Mambo. The Niflheim Wargs are going to snag themselves a Gold Fury and open up this gold lead a little bit more.
Matt, so many things are the same from game 1, but they're just playing it better, it feels like. I mean, Preds is now 2 levels up on Kha'Zix. They've gotten themselves a Gold Fury. They've extended their lead out past that couple hundred, now closer to the 2,000 mark. Wargs are just feeling better this game, it seems like. Spudio's getting caught out a little bit more. They need to have better vision control down. And make sure they're actually grouping, because right now Mambo has just been getting caught out by themselves. And that's kind of what's leading to the Wargs being able to open things up like this. If Spudio is alive in that fight and he's like behind his team, that goes a lot better. Hawk found a massive stun over the wall, but they don't have the shred afterwards to make it count. They have to make sure Spudio is actually alive and in these fights. He's got the damage, he's got the crit build online right now. The Wargs are just doing a fantastic job of pressuring Spudio and then rotating to these objectives. It's going to be the Pyromancer looked at. 3rd objective now if the Wargs get this.
It's going to be both teams minus their ADCs taking a look at this Pyromancer here. Kana forcing out Hex Mambo. Johnny taking a huge chunk of damage over the wall there from Gunter. I would not be surprised if that's enough to dissuade the Hex Mambo from trying to contest this objective. It's going to be a reset, though, as Davies made the rotation from the duo lane. Same thing goes for Spudio. So both these squads would rather take a 5v5 than coin flip a weird 4v4 Pyromancer here. Tier 1 tower going to go down. Actually,
Oh,
scratch that. Maybe what? Like 8 HP left on that Tier 1 tower here. The Niflheim Wargs need one more auto attack to take it down.
there it is.
Baby's going to make sure the objective falls. Niflheim Wargs with a little more gold in their pocket. Willing to back off here, and now the Pyromancer dance is going to start again once in earnest. Johnny is back, though. Full HP, Anvil of Dawn online. Niflheim Wargs starting up the Pyromancer, but shoving forward is Hex Mambo aggressively kicking things off, diving onto Gunter, knowing he is the win condition for the Wargs here. Diving in the back line is Johnny. Down goes Julio to the shots of iDavy on the Heimdall. Kha'Zix's forced out as well. Kana in the back line here, hunting down Hawk and Spudio. Good lockdown from the Bramble Blast. And Rapio finding Kha'Zix as a sacrifice. Johnny turning it right back around on the Habwa, who still had Crushing Wave online. Gunter looking rather low as well. It's going to be a wash here for both these squads, a 2-for-1 in favor of the Wargs. But Johnny not letting up on Gunter, who's...
Johnny?
Oof.
Not sure what the play was on that one. Hex Mambo did get the Pyromancer during that, but what? All right. You know how I said so many things are the same, but it feels like they're playing different? It's Gunter, man. It's just Gunter who is the difference in this game. I think Johnny recognizes that and recognizes him as the threat.
Yeah.
And that's why he feels like he needs to go for that kill. But the problem is that Gunter is the threat. And you can't just run at him with half your HP. He'll simply blow you up like he just did. Especially with the rest of his team coming in behind. Just too aggressive from Johnny. A little bit of an int, not gonna lie. But you try to make things happen. He found a good engagement. But if Mambo wants to actually win those fights and capitalize on the engagement, they have to make sure Gunter is dying. The fact that he was able to get out of that initial engagement, back towards his red buff, and start casting from range, that's why the Wargs were able to turn that fight around. If Gunter had actually fallen, Mambo runs over them. But they haven't been able to actually do that yet. They have to force out Gunter's escape first, and then recommit. But they're just going all in from the very first moment, as not giving them enough time to kill this guy.
Gold Fury online here. Niflheim Wargs not a great position to defend this, I should say. Hex Mambo aren't going to start it up on respawn, so the Primal Fury is going to hover there. Kana taking a lot of poke here from the Niflheim Wargs. Not quite as tanky as I expected the Horus to be. Level 17, 20 minutes into this game number 2 here. Primal Fury's back online for both these squads. Hawk is just raining down damage from above. I mean, both of these mid laners have been the stars of the show here in game number 2, as Hawk and Gunter are certainly the targets for the backline diving frontliners here from both of these squads. Niflheim Wargs has assumed Primal Fury pit superiority here. Hex Mambo are going to have to look for a return. Kana leading the way, making sure the front line of Hex Mambo don't get in for absolutely free. Niflheim Wargs chunking away at the Primal Fury here, not paying any attention to Hex Mambo, who's slowly moving in. And this is a coin flip. If you don't take out Hawk, the bombs raining down from above could certainly finish off this Primal Fury.
Yeah, they have plenty of steal potential, better than the confirm, and it looks like the Wargs have recognized.
Oh, 3-man pull in there from Gunter with the dueling dragons, and that's enough to force Hex Mambo off this objective. No bombs over the wall for the Hex Mambo, and once again, Gunter using the ultimate, not for damage, but for fantastic CC, and that's enough to open the door.
Yeah, great plays coming out from the Wargs there. As soon as Kana started stepping up with Gunter, they were just on the ball. Mambo knew that they could not stick around on that if they tried to. Kana was just going to start CC chaining someone down. Someone was going to die. And if you lose one person at that Fury, you're probably losing a lot more than just the Fury. It's then the Wargs fully aggressing into you. But take a look at the map. Look where the Mambo are right now. They're at the Fire Giant.
Oh, the Niflheim Wargs have no idea. Only Kana here to defend it. Hex Mambo take down the FG off the back of a Primal Fury take by the Niflheim Wargs. That's SMITE 101 right there. You grab something on the left side, the enemies take something on the right side. But, I mean, the Wargs just caught with their pants down there, Spooky. Clearly not even a thought in their mind that the Hex Mambo would try to take FG 22 minutes with a gold deficit. But here we are, and the Hex Mambo have Fire Giant around their waist.
Absolutely massive play from Mambo. And I can see where Wargs are coming from on that. You know, Mambo so far has been stepping up to kind of match the Wargs. They've been looking to kind of fight. And they just got pushed out. They just got forced all the way back to their base. And the Wargs are thinking, okay, yeah, we gotta bullied those guys around. You know, they're going to dance to our tune now. Mambo's not having any of that. They create their own song and dance here. Now with the Fire Giant, these fights should be a little bit more even, perhaps advantageous for the Wargs. But the Fire Master just gets evaporated. I'm surprised that Mambo isn't there to say anything about it. Instead, looking to try to control these tier 1s a little bit, put some gold back into their pockets. And a trade in the mid and right sides. Actually, maybe just looking for a tier 2 here.
It's going to be tier 2 for tier 2. With Johnny going over to attempt to persuade, or a tier 1, I should say, a tier 1 for tier 2 trade.
They're going for Phoenix?
Hex Mambo's not done. They're looking at the Phoenix here. Gunter's rotated in. Preds has done the same thing.
Call.
Johnny is locking down Khan on this right-hand side. But yeah, Hex Mambo, stepping forward, I think there would be a great folly for that Chaos squad. And something piqued my interest here, Spooky. I kind of want to get your take on it. This build coming out from Davey, who we've seen come through with the auto attacks, good CC as well. Crit's strong right now. I mean, yes. Crit's great on ADCs, but Davey electing to go this kind of penetration, transcendence, dominance build. Kind of talk me through the game plan here for the Niflheim Wargs for the Hunter.
Let's get one thing straight. I don't like Griffin Wings.
Copy that. Heard loud and clear.
I don't particularly like that item, but we can get to that later.
Okay.
The pen, I think, is a very good option right now because you're going against Julio and Kha'Zix on these beefy guys with tons of sustain. Your crits are going to be mitigated a little bit. You know, they're going to build their spectrals. They're going to be healing each other up.
Sure.
You're just not going to do a whole ton of big burst damage to them. If you go for this pen build, though, their procs start to matter a little bit less. You're hitting them harder each time. You're not relying on the RNG. You're consistently shredding them down with each and every single hit that you make. And you know what? With the Griffin Wings, sure, your axes are coming out faster. Davey on this Heimdall does have the basic attack modifier where his basics do come out a little bit slower, but they hit a little bit harder as a result.
Sure.
So having the extra attack speed and making them get to their target a little bit faster, I can see the value in that on the pen build specifically. Because if you're just launching these chin-size, dominance-enhanced basics, and every single one is just chunking them down, and they can't get away from them because they're reaching them so fast, you might make me a believer in the Griffins. You just might.
Well, Hawk with an ill-timed back here. As the Primal Fury is online, Hex Mambo going to be without their mid laner, so no great secure here for Hex Mambo. Connor locking down Julio, who's forced to dash away. A couple heals coming out from the Guan Yu. Hawk has rejoined the fray, so those bombs will be raining down the side of the Agni. Preds starting up the Primal Fury. Those dominance, penetration, powerful autos from Davey shredding through Julio, diving in, Anvil of Dawn up in the air, smashing down onto 3 members who immune pretty much all of the damage there. Wow. With some great agencies. Gunter so low, and the mid laner drops, but Davey returns 2. Finds Preds over the top. Spudio takes out Rapio in return. It's a 2 for 3. And Hex Mambo is not done, but they are so low, and Kana and Davey wailing away. Kana taking out the mid laner, Spudio trading out Davey, and now it's Kana versus 2 low health members, locked down by the Terra. The duo lane of Hex Mambo finds the decided triple for Spudio, comes up big for Mambo. And a tier 2 tower in the eyes of the Chaos Squad.
So it turns out he didn't make me a believer in the Griffin Wings.
I don't know, man.
Initial impression, not changed now. Great fight,
that fight, dude.
From Mambo. He did good work in the fight, but you know, it was not enough to win the fight. They still lost the fight with the lead. So I don't know how much we can say for the Griffin Wings on that case. But man, Kha'Zix and Johnny just nailed that fight so well. Kha'Zix getting in there, dropping the Terra ultimate immediately, hits everyone with it, facilitated the Anvil of Dawn so well. This is the first time they were actually able to kill Gunter in this, not just the fight, but in this entire game. And they win the fight off the back of it. If you take Gunter out of the picture, Hex Mambo can roll forward through the rest of the Wargs here. Davey put up an admirable fight, did a lot of damage, but unfortunately at that point, it wasn't as healthy as Spudio, and this pen build isn't as effective at killing squishies as it is at killing the tanks. Spudio is simply going to outdamage him due to the nature of crit builds. Now, it's Mambo looking over towards this Fire Giant. They've taken the lead back for themselves, got the advantageous positioning. Wargs now have to switch mentalities and play from behind. Not too far behind. Not exactly where they were.
Julio wrapping around here, and this Fire Giant's not going to go down as free as the first one for Hex Mambo, because this time the Niflheim Wargs know what's up. It's going to be a 5v5 here, as the Hex Mambo are backing off this Fire Giant, not quite ready to commit to it yet. I mean, it makes sense. Get some ward vision, back off, farm the map. I know Johnny wants to go grab that speed buff, maybe clear lane a little bit, push forward. And that Primal Fury is still online. It was not taken in that engagement, even though that was what the fight was over. The dual lane of Hex Mambo electing to push down that left side tower, maybe, you know, throw a couple bit of autos into that left side Phoenix. Doesn't come up with much, though. But Primal Fury is still online, so this Fire Giant is not the only neutral objective on the map. But the problem is, Spooky, SMITE 101. If you go get the Primal Fury, the other team just gets the SFG for free.
Yeah, right now, Fire Giant is essentially the only objective on the map. And it's going to be started up, and it's getting shredded, but Kana's already dead!
Oh, Kana is down from the bombs of Hawk and Julio charging forward with that cavalry charge.
My.
But so much faster than the rest of his squad, who's going to linger behind to grab this Fire Giant. And the Wargs just, with their front liner and Kana down, that's the issue with this Preds pick on the Hell, is just there's no front line on the side of the Niflheim Wargs. As long as that horse is put in the ground, really no kind of counter engage or backline dive here from the Niflheim Wargs. Hex Mambo pick up a Fire Giant and cement their lead in this game. They were down a little bit earlier, not even 10 minutes ago, but a great fight on the left side and a Fire Giant around their belts. It's going to put Hex Mambo in the driver's seat here, sieging down this middle lane. Phoenix Preds leading the way with Kana and the Grayscale for another 15 seconds. Spudio laying into this middle lane bird here. Julio shoving out some of the Niflheim Wargs. Meanwhile, Preds healing up the rest of the squad. Switching back and forth between those stances expertly. Surprised Hawk hasn't made a little bit of way here with those bombs spreading forward. Preds locked down, but Spudio with full attention on the Phoenix, not pushing forward into Preds. Kana shoving forward back from the Grayscale. Johnny up in the air. Rapio finds one. Julio, Kana, and Preds locked down by the wall. Johnny offline with the hammer there. Down is Gunter, waiting the backline, free casting over the wall. Johnny finds Rapio. Meanwhile, Hawks shoving forward. Gunter once again over the wall. Perfect with this Yu Huang. Hawks maybe a little bit out of position here. Auto attacks connecting from Davey. Kana shoving forward. Gunter not in time. Hawk able to dash away.
The skies.
Oh, in the skies. In the back line is Kana and Gunter. Hawk between a rock and a hard place there chooses the ADC. And Davey picks up a 5th kill for himself. So the middle lane bird does fall for the side of Hex Mambo, or on the side of the Niflheim Wargs, I should say, but Hex Mambo paying the price.
Yeah, not entirely worth it for Mambo. Now it's just the Wargs
lose.
Pushing forward. Gonna go ahead and take this tier 2 tower. May end up trading Phoenix for Phoenix here. Only 2 of the Hex Mambo alive to defend here. They're not all damage dealers. They've got Spudio to put some shred down. But wow!
Holy smokes, Dueling Dragons still online for Gunter as well. Davey with the ultimate, Spudio dropping low. Middle lane Birds traded with the Niflheim Wargs' fantastic base defense turning into aggression. I guess the best defense is a good offense, unless the best defense is a good defense and then some offense. Right, Spooky?
Sure, Grizzles. Sure thing there. It was just a little ambitious from Mambo to try to push a little bit further there. They got the bird. Great. Back off at that point. Disengage. You know, your Fire Giant won't last forever, and you're already a long ways up. Wargs have all their cooldowns. You know Gunter's an issue. Accept what you've gotten, reset, and spend that gold. Instead, they try to fight with gold in pocket, and gold in pocket does not translate to items.
Julio's deep under Rapio here. Cavalry charge onto the Habwa in the jungle. Meanwhile, Johnny up into the air. Who's going to be the target? 3-man crash down. No, it's going to be Gunter in the backline, who's separated from the rest of his squad. Man, that could have been a great opportunity for Johnny if Gunter had a little bit of follow-up there. But it's just going to be a wash and Hawk, the last remaining member of Hex Mambo here with ultimates online, and the Niflheim Wargs in the driver's seat here as far as cooldowns are concerned. And Hex Mambo really have no fight back into it after a botched engagement there.
Now, luckily, though, Fire Giant still down for a little bit, so it's not the pits for Mambo just yet. They can still take their time, group up on this tier 2. They have to make sure they're not caught out on their way in, though. Johnny has to be a little more careful.
Oh! Dueling Dragons connects with priority members of Hex Mambo here. Spuddy immediately forced out of the fight. Someone from Hex Mambo sitting in the air. Who's going to smash back down? Julio, Dash, Rapio. That's a dead Guan Yu. That's a dead tier 2 tower. Niflheim Wargs could be looking for a little bit more on this right-hand side, or just a big reset for the Fire Giant, who's going to respawn in just a handful of seconds here. And right there, back on the map is the Fire Giant. Niflheim Wargs in prime position to take that objective.
Yeah, this is the enhanced Fire Giant, too. This is a really bad time for Julio to be dead. Mambo, they're going to try to step up, but I don't think they get there in time. Johnny's in the skies.
Wait for it. Oh, no. Okay, good.
Yeah,
good call there by Johnny.
No way. No way.
Electing to smash down into the middle lane, get some clear. Fire Giant heads the way of the Niflheim Wargs, and we've got a back-and-forth contest here in game number 2, Spooky.
Man, it's very back and forth. The lead basically doesn't exist at this point. With how close these teams are, this could go either way. At this point, though, Wargs have EFG, automatically favored in the fights and the sieges as a result of that. It's a huge buff. It's not just extra physical power, not just extra magical power. It's also the added sustain you get from that. The HP 5, the MP 5 allows the Wargs to stay in these fights for a little bit longer. They can dance around these birds. Fact is, they already have one middle bird down. They're just back up, so no fire minions pushing down from the side of Hex Mambo. Wargs are in the driver's seat. They're going to strip down this last tier 2. They're ready to look for this fight. They've got all the tools for it. As long as they keep baiting out Johnny's ult. Wow, okay,
What a
careful.
great start there for Hex Mambo with Hawk raining down bombs. Kind of forced into the skies for a full retreat here from the Niflheim Wargs, and that's a good call. I like that. You've got heals on the side of Connor. Oh, I thought a full retreat, but Connor says, no, guys, I am right back online. Those heals plus the Fire Giant plus Preds. I mean, Connor is just back at full HP, and Hawk has to find a repeat performance here with those bombs. Preds, the target now lockdown. Great lockdown. Once again, Hawk coming up big. No Anvil of Dawn yet from Johnny. I feel like Thor's really going to be the one to kick this off. Got to find a 3, maybe even a 4-man ultimate. Julio leading the charge with the cavalry as well. It's going to be a big-time defense here from Hex Mambo. This is going to break the game wide open. Double tap onto Rapio, falling low. Bombs off the mark there from Hawk. But that's going to force out the Wargs for a second, at least until Kana and Preds can heal up their jungler, who's going to be crucial in this team fight. I mean, every single member from the Wargs and the Mambo have to contribute to this next engagement, or it could be curtains here for Hex Mambo.
Hawk is really doing a great job of keeping the Wargs away right now. He's burning so much time from this EFG by just dropping 3 bombs on someone's head. At some point, you have to stop playing that corner if you're the Wargs. You have to stop stepping up to where Hawk has been 2 times. This may be the go button, finally.
Gunta locking it down here. Anvil of Dawn comes in from Johnny. Davey is going to fall on the ground, but trades it right back onto Julio. Kana falling low as well. Oh, Hawk able to escape. That is absolutely giant for Hex Mambo to keep their middle lane bird alive. A 1-for-1 trade. But the ADC being down for the Niflheim Wargs is going to be a showstopper as far as taking objectives is concerned.
EFG is not long for this world. Should be falling off the waist of Wargs in just a matter of moments here. Absolutely massive for Mambo to keep their mid laner alive there. Losing this Pyromancer will be a little bit of an issue, unless no one picks up the Runic Bomb. It is going to be Preds coming back for it. But man, Johnny, I feel like he just needs to be a little bit more on point with the Anvil of Dawn. He got into the fight with it, yes. It didn't have a huge impact. He has to find these priority targets. He has to find Gunter. He has to find Davey with them. They cannot survive the initial landing and be allowed to keep outputting damage for 3 seconds before they die. Mambo has to facilitate this a little bit more. I don't know if it's just the beads are too good, the cleanses are too good from Preds right now. But Mambo has to force these things out before committing the Anvil of Dawn into the dive. It's going to be critical around this EFG. All ultimates available for both squads here. Fire Giant alive. It's all on the Wargs. They've got the advantage positioning. Mambo has a tough time getting in on this one.
Got to make something happen here. Rapio playing the black line. That's smart. Same thing goes for Davey and Gunter. I mean, we've reached the point of the game where you've got to split your attention between Davey and Gunter. The backliners have to die for the Wargs, or they can absolutely turn a team fight on its head. Kana locked down once again from these bombs, and that's how every single engagement has started. I mean, Hawk raining from the sky, these meteors. But then, this is exactly what happens. Connor with the heals, Preds with the heals, throw the shield online, get some movement speed from the Caduceus Club, and it's so obnoxious to deal with because you rain down all these bombs, and then absolutely nothing comes of it because of the healing. Julio seeing an opportunity to go in here. Kana, once again, locked down. Dueling Dragons, not as effective in this fight. Davey! I mean, just ripped down there by Hawk in the backline. The Wild Hunt catches two. Kana's the target. Up into the air. Johnny looking for the backline. Spudio finds Kana in the meantime, smashing down a good wall. It's going to lock down Preds, who escapes using those heals, the movement speed, the shield. Hawk over the wall.
Oh, Rapio!
Rapio! Wave caught by the wall. Big time plays there for Johnny, coming up big for Hex Mambo, who's on top in this team fight.
No way!
Dead. Mambo Julio's got the cavalry charge back online. Shoving forward. Gunter is in the ground for at least
There's a tier 2!
A minute. And tier 2 online, who cares about a tier 2? Spooky, it's going to be the middle lane Phoenix. It's going to be Hex Mambo finding a 3-man swing for nothing, for Goose Egg for the Niflheim Wargs. And all of a sudden, the Wargs flipped upside down. The tables have completely turned here, Spooky. This middle lane Phoenix is going to fall, and it's Davey and Preds against the world here. Hex Mambo shoving forward. Johnny Anvil back online. Hawk with the bombs as well, pushing forward into the throne room. It's the duo lane of the Niflheim Wargs for the next 30 seconds. Hex Mambo throwing damage into the Titan. A Fire Giant fight, Spooky. A botched Niflheim Wargs lead, and the Hex Mambo take it 2-0 over the Niflheim Wargs. Woo!
What a fight coming out from Mambo. What excellent gameplay. It's all because they were able to put the damage into Davey. Gunter threw out the ult, and I think that was the first ultimate this entire game that didn't find the value. It didn't connect with the backline. It didn't force anyone out of position. And as soon as it was down, Mambo just looked at it. Oh, well, they don't have the burst anymore. Who can we kill? Well, they couldn't kill anyone, but they forced Davey's ultimate. They forced him completely out of the fight, made it a 4v5, and now without the tank shredder there, Wargs just didn't have any way to stop the... They didn't have any way to stop Mambo from forcing their way in, because guess what? They didn't have any CC. They didn't have any front line to stop the aggression. They just fell apart.
And it's the first late game team fight we saw, Spooky, where Hawk was dropping bombs and the Wargs weren't able to disengage and heal back from it.
Yes.
Right? On that Phoenix Siege, we saw them using Kana and Preds to heal back up and to get their team back to full HP before reinitiating. But Hex Mambo, they took that opportunity for Hawk to drop the bombs, and then they pressed forward. They didn't allow them to back off enough time to heal, and that's what finally allowed Mambo to break through. I mean, look at Hawk, 47K, dude.
Look at the healing, though, from the Wargs.
Yeah, filthy.
Altogether, it's like 30,000, which totals to Spudio dealing 3,000 damage in that game. Like, that's so gross, man. Like,
dude, filthy.
Hawk, absolute critical player in keeping that game alive. If he had not been finding those bombs, like you said, on those Phoenix defenses and forcing the Wargs to pull back and heal up 2-3 times in a row, game goes completely differently. Wargs would just walk in, burn it down. Hawk, absolutely the MVP of that.
Phenomenal play there. And, I mean, shout out to the Niflheim Wargs, too. I mean, they took a tough game number 1 and turned it into a respectable game number 2 performance. I mean, Kana was doing great things. I mean, clearly the MVP was that Hugh Wong, right? I mean,
Gunter
time after time after time, we saw the Dueling Dragons connect with priority targets on the side of the Wargs. Big time shout out to the mid laner for the Wargs there and Gunter. But 2 well-matched squads, 2 great games of Smite, and ultimately the game ends because of one late game team fight.
Yes. The way things usually tend to break down, once you get into that late game, those respawn timers get so long around a crucial objective like the Fire Giant. Well, they didn't even need the Fire Giant. They simply found their kills and continued the chase. They knew once they had the opportunity, they knew exactly how far they were going to take that. The fact that Johnny was able to cut off Rapio as well, crush a wave into a wall.
Big time.
That's curtains.
Well, it's curtains for the Niflheim Wargs here in week number 2, day number 3 of the SMITE Challenger Circuit. The Hex Mambo making good on their namesake and staying as dominant as they were in Season 9 here in Season 10. But Spooky, that's going to do it for us here. Us SCC boys are wrapping it for the day. But make sure you at home stick around. The SPL is coming your way in just a little bit, and it's Sunday. So we've got some premium matches coming your way. But for myself, for Spooky, production, our wonderful spectator, everyone here, thank you so much for joining us for the SMITE Challenger Circuit. Make sure to stick around for the SPL and more SCC action after the SMITE Pro League. We'll catch you next time. Make sure to stay hydrated.